We are going to be attempting to read fantasy books for an entire week. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name's Alexa Raye and welcome to another video. I'm so glad you're here and I'm so glad you clicked on today's video. By the title of today's video, by the thumbnail, you guys already know what we are going to be doing. And I thought it'd be really fun to read fantasy books for an entire week. I'm not a very big fantasy reader, and when I say that, I mean I literally just don't read fantasy, like at all. The only fantasy books that I've really read is A Court of Thorns and Roses and the Shatter Me series. Those are like the only books that I have read that are in the fantasy genre. So fantasy is not really my thing. Reading fantasy is definitely outside of my comfort zone. You guys already know I typically read a lot of romance books on my channel. This is gonna be a very interesting and fun video. I've seen so many other people do videos like this where they pick a specific genre and they stick to that genre for an entire week. I think that is such a fun way of branching out of your comfort zone and just trying new things. I absolutely love that. That's what we're going to be doing in today's video. We're going to be reading fantasy books for an entire week. I have some very exciting fantasy books that I've set aside and that I really want to try and tackle this week. I feel like this video can go one of two ways. Either I'm going to absolutely love it, or I'm going to get into a massive reading slump because I'm just not used to fantasy worlds, fantasy terms, fantasy storylines. So that is what we're going to be doing in today's reading vlog. I am so very excited. I hope you guys are too, and without further ado, let's hop into it. Fantasy is definitely one of those genres that take a lot of concentration from me to fully understand and take in the story. I like to read in quiet places to help me stay focused so that I'm able to immerse myself into that story's world. It can be hard to find some quiet time for yourself, so I'm super excited to announce that today's video is sponsored by Loop earplugs. Now I know what you guys are thinking. Earplugs? And yes, the answer is earplugs. Loop earplugs are perfect for any situation, whether you're going to a concert with friends or just need some quiet time to yourself. They also have so many different kinds to choose from. My favorite ones at the moment are the Loop Experience ones. They help filter noise while also taking the edge off. I love wearing these while I read because when it gets noisy or when the train goes by, it doesn't disrupt my concentration, but I'm still able to hear if Chris comes in and wants to talk. Wearing these on walks has also been a huge game changer for me because living downtown can get very loud and very noisy. I've also been loving the Loop Quiet ones. These muffle sound and help you focus. They are perfect for when you're studying, sleeping, or just want some peace and quiet. Something else I love about Loop earplugs is that they're reusable and they're very easy to wash. They also come in so many different colors and they're just so aesthetically pleasing. They also come in these cute little cases that you can connect to a keychain or a bag so that you never have to worry about losing them. I highly recommend, and if you're interested, you can use my link down below and my code on your first purchase. But thank you so much to Loop earplugs for sponsoring today's video. And now let's hop in to the reading vlog. So to start off this fantasy magical week of reading, I want to start off with, I have actually had these books on my shelves for the longest time, and the only reason why I wound up picking these books up, you guess really why I picked these books up? I mean, look how beautiful these covers are. They are absolutely stunning. They are both hardcover books. I was immediately obsessed with them when I saw them, and I'm so happy I picked these up when I did because I've seen recently that they have like new covers out for these books, or I don't even know if they're new. I just know that I've seen different covers of these books out lately at Barnes and other bookstores. So I'm really happy I picked these books up when I did because I am absolutely obsessed with these covers. Something else I absolutely love about hardcover books specifically is when you take off the sleeve, is the book still pretty underneath the sleeve? And yes it is. Look how stunning this is. I love this so much, honestly. Debating just leaving it on my bookshelf like this without having the sleeve on it because I just think this is so cute and I think it's so classic looking. Thought it'd be fun to pick these books up first in today's vlog because I've seen so many people pick them up recently and just say incredible things about them. I've also heard a lot of people say that they give off fairy tale vibes, and that's like my favorite thing. So I thought we'd start with these. Book one is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is also the same author of the Caraval series, and Another little twist on today's vlog. Caraval is actually the same universe as these books. So I've done my research, I've looked into it. I do have book 1 of the Caraval series. It has been confirmed by several people as well as Stephanie Garber herself that you do not have to read the Caraval series before jumping into this series. Although they take place in the same universe and in some ways they may intertwine, or you might see characters from the Caraval world in these books, you don't have to start with Caraval. You can just jump into these and you should be able to follow along just fine. So I am not going to start with Caraval. Now, am I going to regret it? Probably. I'm probably going to regret not starting with the Caraval series, and I'm going to kick myself in the butt later on in this vlog. But nonetheless, we are going to be starting off with these 2 books in today's vlog. I wanted to start off with both of them just because they are fairly short books. I think they're like 300 or 400 pages. So if we're going to read one book, we might as well read the second one in the series. Don't know too much about this series. I know it gives off like fairy tale vibes. I know there's a lot of magic in here. I think I saw somewhere someone talk about there being vampires in here. Interesting, very interesting, and I'm very intrigued. This tells the story of Evangeline Fox, and basically what happens is she's in love with a boy who ends up going to marry a different girl. Evangeline strikes a deal with the Prince of Hearts to stop the wedding, to stop her one true love from marrying the wrong girl, which in a way sounds kind of crazy because, like, if he's going off to marry some other girl, why would you want to be with him? We can't judge yet, we haven't read the story. But she strikes a deal with the Prince of Hearts to basically stop the wedding. There's a little catch to the whole deal. He is the Prince of Hearts, and in exchange for stopping this wedding, Evangeline owes him 3 kisses at any time he may choose. Very interesting, very, very interesting. After Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants far more from her than she pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. I'm so excited for this. Honestly, I have very high hopes for this book. I've seen so many other booktubers cover it and say incredible things about it. Very high hopes, very excited. We are gonna jump right into this.
Maybe I made some mistakes. Maybe you shouldn't talk that way. Really matter if the bed's made, or if it wore the same shirt that day. Maybe I don't think the same. Maybe you showed up too late. I left my shoes by the doorway. I like it that way. And I don't need you, but I want you. If you hate me, you're supposed to. I'm that someone you lean all your weight on.
Okay guys, I thought I would do a little check-in with you. I only have like this little bit left to read, and I actually switched over to the Kindle Unlimited edition. I don't know what's gotten into me lately, but I've actually been loving my Kindle, and I've strictly been reading books on my Kindle, which I feel like defeats the purpose of me having like physical copy books. But there are things in the book though, like the physical copy, that do make reading the physical copy a little bit better than reading on the Kindle, because when you're reading on the Kindle, it's just basic word for word pages, and there's like no special little details in any of it. But in the book, let me see if I can find something. In the book, when there's letters or something like that, like it actually appears as a letter in the book, and I think that is so cool. I love the little details with it. When Evangeline is looking through books of her own, you're basically looking at what Evangeline is looking at in the spell book, and I just think that is so cool. I love when books do that. The details are just immaculate in this. I'm on chapter 51, page 374. This book is really just surprising me, honestly. I'm like low-key obsessed with it. I'm going to predict, even though we only have this little bit left, I'm going to predict that this is going to be at least a 4-star read for me. I adore Evangeline. Her story is kind of, it's a little messed up. She strikes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, who is Jax, and she basically asks him to stop this wedding from happening because the boy she loves is going to marry be the wrong girl. She wants to be with this boy so bad, so she asks Jax to stop the wedding. In return, she owes Jax 3 kisses at any time, whenever he wants, and to whoever he wants. So she strikes a pretty crazy deal with him when he requests her to have a kiss with someone, and we kind of watch how it plays out. Now we have found out that there's something even bigger going on to the whole story that Jax wants from Evangeline, so we're kind of watching everything unravel right now. I feel like there is like so much going on in this story though, and I feel like there's definitely something going on possibly between Jax and Evangeline. I don't know, I can't say for sure, but I just get this vibe from these two characters that they like are perfect for each other, but at the same time they're not perfect for each other, and them being together can cause a lot of problems. But so far so good. This is definitely magical. There are indeed vampires in it, there's spells in it, and it's just all the magical vibes. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I am very excited to move on to book 2. I don't know like how this is going to end because we only have this little chunk left, but I don't know how this story is going to be able to wrap up in just this little bit. So I have a really weird feeling that this is going to leave off on a cliffhanger, and it's going to drive me crazy. So luckily we can jump in to book 2 immediately after this. Like I said, I'm on chapter 51. We're at a weird part in the story where we're seeing Evangeline kind of get betrayed by someone she's really close to, and I don't know like how I feel about it in a way, because like I feel bad for Evangeline, but at the same time she kind of did something pretty bad herself in the beginning of the story. We're gonna finish this up though. So we just wrapped up Once Upon a Broken Heart. I'm actually in shock at how much I wound up enjoying this story. 4 stars. Definitely 4 stars across the board. I think the only thing that's holding me back from giving it 5 stars is there's like romance in the story, but not as much as I would like there to be. I love the whole idea of the story and I love the romance aspect of it, but I just wish there was like a little bit more. I almost wish the book was longer too. Like I just want more. I have to say, like not what I expected at all going into this. I really just thought it was going to be about Evangeline striking this deal with Jax and trying to get back her one true love. That's just like not what this entire story revolved around, and honestly going into it I thought it sounded like a very simple type of storyline, but there was just like so much more to it and it made me fall in love with the story. I loved Evangeline's character and I loved Jax's character. I think the banter between the two of them was like pretty hilarious. You can tell that there's like this tension between Evangeline and Jax, and she can't stand him and he can't stand her, but at the same time they want to protect each other at all cost, and I love their dynamic throughout the entire story. I just already know who I want Evangeline to be with, and I don't know how it's going to work out. Also, like the ending of this book, low-key, it kind of hurt my heart. It does leave off on a minor cliffhanger, I guess you could say. So I'm excited to see like what happens in book 2. Like how is it going to go? Because in my mind right now, I know who I want Evangeline to be with. With the way this story ended, I'm like, oh, should she not be with him? Like, is it wrong for me to still be shipping Evangeline with this person? I just feel like book 2 is going to be a roller coaster of emotions for me. I think this is a really cute fantasy book, and if you're looking to get started in the fantasy genre, I think this is a really good starter book. I thought it was a really easygoing, short fantasy story. I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the whole storyline. It was very magical. 4 stars. Highly recommend if you're looking to get into the fantasy genre. I'm really excited to move on to book 2 and see what happens, but at the same time I'm really nervous. So good morning guys, good afternoon. I think it's afternoon actually, but it is a new day and we are going to be hopping in to the Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is book 2 in the series, and I don't actually know what I said in the last clip of this video, to be completely honest. We wrapped this book up pretty fast, but I don't know if I really talked too much about it. I feel like I was just trying to process this story because a lot happened in it that I just wasn't expecting to happen. Kind of nervous because I've been seeing so many TikToks on this book and how people are just torn to shreds after reading this, so I'm getting a little bit nervous jumping into this. But we are going to be tackling The Ballad of Never After today. I love that I kind of coordinated my outfit with the book. That actually wasn't on purpose, I swear. I'm pretty sure this picks up immediately after Once Upon a Broken Heart. I don't know how Evangeline is going to go about the curses. This is going to be a really interesting read. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see like what happens with Jax because I love his character. I love Jax so much and I can't tell if that's good or bad. Like I don't know if I should be as in love with Jax as I currently am. I'm hoping this book clears up a lot of the confusion I have going on in me right now, but we are gonna hop into this. We finished The Ballad of Never After. Did it rip my heart out just like the first book did? Yes. Yes, it did. Do I now have to wait until the fall to see how this ends because that's when book 3 comes out? Yes, I do. I looked up when the third book was originally supposed to be released. It said, I think, September 12th, and now it's pushed to October. So I'm loving this genre so much right now. The Ballad of Never After, book 2, 5 stars. 5 stars across the board. Honestly, I would give it a higher rating if I could. There was something more in this book. I can't put my finger on it, but there was just something that was in this book that wasn't in book 1 that I really, really enjoyed. There was a little bit more romance in here. It's going to take me days to process this entire story and how it ended. I'm really upset that I have to wait so long for book 3 because I really just want to know what happens next. Definitely better than book 1. I mean, I loved book 1 too. Obviously, this was a 5-star and book 1 was a 4-star for me. Again, there was just something more in this book. The book was just giving me something more than book 1 did. I loved the storyline of this book. I'm really hoping that Apollo just like goes away, goes far away. Kind of sick of him, want nothing to do with him. Literally halfway through reading this book, I was like, oh, I should have read Caraval first. You do not have to read those books to get into these books and understand what's going on, but there are like references and I feel like there's just connections from Caraval that go with these books that I'm definitely missing out on. So definitely want to go and read the Caraval trilogy. Maybe I'll do that this summer while waiting for book 3 to come out. If you are just starting to get into the fantasy genre, I would honestly recommend these books before A Court of Thorns and Roses. I know I've said in previous videos that if you're starting fantasy, you should jump into A Court of Thorns and Roses, but let's pretend I didn't say that at all. I would say start with these books because they are just so easy to understand. They're very quick, fast-paced reads. The storylines are very easy, and there's also just not a gazillion characters to keep track of. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and these books were not overwhelming at all, and I just really enjoyed them. The fairy tale vibes are definitely there. The Ballad of Never After, absolutely love this. Could not recommend these books enough. And now I'm gonna go spend the rest of the night processing the ending of this book. We are now moving on to the third book in this reading vlog, and this is a chunky book for me, and it is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I read book 1, I think, last month, and I wound up loving it so much more than I thought was possible. Going into it, I just didn't have a lot of high hopes. I'm usually really disappointed by books that are super overly hyped on the internet. I wound up loving it, and it was also like one of my first fantasy reads in the longest time. Overall, I was very pleased with my reading experience with it. it, so I thought for this vlog we would hop in and read book 2 in the series. It's like 600 pages, which is a pretty big book for me. I don't typically read books this big just because I find that books that are this long, I lose interest in them like halfway through. I know when it comes to fantasy, they're typically longer books because the details that the authors are putting in their books is really just helping create that world and helping readers feel like they're in the story. Although it's a little intimidating, I know it's going to be worth it. This is also like so many people's favorite book in the series. So many people rave about book 2, so I'm really excited to see what happens. Apparently this is the book where Rhys and Feyre just thrive. I can't wait to see how their relationship evolves in this story, because in book 1 I loved Tamlin and apparently that's not okay, which has me intrigued because I'm like, why is it bad to like Tamlin? So we're gonna find out in this book and I can't wait to see what happens. I think I'm gonna start off with reading the book and then I might switch over to the audiobook because so many people say that the audiobooks for this series is unmatched and it's just incredible if you listen to it. So I might switch over and listen to the audiobook because I also find when I was listening to the audiobook for book 1, I feel like I was understanding the story more so than if I was reading it myself. So we'll see what happens. I'm very excited. We're gonna hop into it. Who is this man pretending to be Tamlin right now? Because this is not the Tamlin I remember. I'm like actually so surprised right now. Do you guys like my t-shirt? I actually don't even understand it yet. It says, I caught a lion. I actually just got this in a little PR package the other day. This book is taking me so freaking long to read. I have turned on the audiobook a few times reading it because I have to say the audiobook is like so good. I highly recommend if you're going to read this series, listen to the audiobook as well because the audiobook is so different. It's like such a game changer and I honestly understand the story way better listening to the audiobook. This book is taking me such a long time to get through. I don't even know how long we've been reading it, honestly. It's been a few days. I know that much. We're getting close to the end though. A lot has happened. It's very like slow. I love watching the relationship develop and I have been enjoying it. It's just a very slow burn. It's like more slow than I thought it was going to be. I think we're getting really close to the major turning point though, or like the big explosion, you know, the end of that slow burn when everything just falls into place. I think we're about to hit that point. I really enjoyed watching Feyre at the night court. I think it's been really cool to see her kind of adjust to the night court, and we've also met like so many new characters that I am just smitten with, you know? So far so good. I have been really enjoying it. The whole Tamlin drama, I don't want to talk about it because I'm honestly just so heartbroken over it, and it kind of reminds me of the same feeling I felt when I was reading the Shatter Me series. And in book 1 of Shatter Me, I was Team Adam. I loved Adam so much. I thought he was the perfect guy for Juliet, very similar to how I adored Tamlin and thought he was absolutely perfect for Feyre. And then, you know, you read book 2 of the series and you're like, oh, I don't like you anymore. And now I'm rooting for the bad boy that I thought was the bad guy, but maybe he's not the bad guy. But yeah, I just want to do a little check-in with you guys. I feel like I haven't done a lot of check-ins in this vlog. I'm so sorry. This vlog, I feel like, is a little bit all over the place, and it's mainly because I I am not used to reading fantasy books, so I've just been trying to really soak in the stories and the characters. Because I'm not used to reading stuff like that, it can be a little hard to understand at first. So I think that's why when I read book 1 in this series, it took me a very long time to read that book as well. We are going to wrap up this book. I don't know if I'll finish it tonight. We'll most likely finish it tomorrow and talk about it, but I'm gonna read a few more chapters tonight and then I'll talk to you guys in the morning. Not what I expected. I need a moment to process.
One eternity later.
Okay, hey guys. I've taken the time I've needed to process the ending of this crazy book. Why'd she have to end it like that? I just want to know, why'd she have to end it like that? Because now I have to go and read book 3 immediately after this. If you guys don't already, go follow me over on TikTok because I see a lot of future TikToks in the near future of me and this book. I can see why people say that this is one of their favorite books in the entire series. It really is such a big turning point. I mean, it's only book 2, but there is such a huge turning point in the whole story compared to book 1. I ended book 1 loving Tamlin and Feyre. I liked Rhys, but I was still kind of iffy on him just because when we first meet him, he's not exactly in the best place and he kind of seems like the bad guy, so you don't really know what to expect from him. The beginning of this story really shook me with the way it was starting off because I was kind of confused at the way Feyre was acting and thinking, and then we kind of watched things unravel between her and Tamlin just didn't seem like the same Tamlin from book 1. Rhys comes in though and he shows us exactly how Feyre should be treated, how women in general should be treated. Honestly, throughout the entire story, he was giving me strong feminist vibes and I loved that. I loved every second of the story. I loved every second of Rhys. I love his character so much and I love the things that he did for Feyre, for his people, for his friends. The slow burn in it was definitely longer than I would like, but at the same time, it was so worth it once we got to chapter 48. When I finished this book, I literally had to take a little bit to process what I had just read. The ending just really caught me off guard. Like, I knew it was going to end in some crazy way. I feel like fantasy books really know how to leave you on a cliffhanger and really know how to end it. After every book I've read in this video, I'm just left hanging on for dear life. This book was incredible though. It's a 5-star read, absolutely amazing. I highly recommend if you're getting into the fantasy genre, give this series a chance. The hype is totally real. It was so perfect. It was incredible. I can't wait to continue on in the series. With that being said though, I think I'm going to end our little fantasy readathon here because this book just took so much out of me that I need to take a break. I need to take my time to process everything that we've read. I can tell I'm going to be like this for a while. So anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, this reading vlog of reading fantasy for an entire week. What have we learned from this reading vlog? Fantasy books rip your heart out. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. I had a great time reading fantasy with you guys for an entire week. We read some incredible books and I'm so excited to continue on in the fantasy genre. And I'm excited to pick up more in the future. If you guys have any fantasy book recs for me, leave them down below because I'm definitely looking for some more fantasy books to add to my library. Let me know down below what your fantasy book recs are for me and I'll pick them up and I'll have them in the next fantasy readathon that we do. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today and I'll see you in my next video.